Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Exam Tricks and Tips. Welcome to the second episode of Data Analytics Specialty Exam Series. This channel is dedicated to help cloud computing learners pass certification exams with ease and style. This is all free content for you to use. There's hardly anything available on YouTube today on this topic, and if there is anything available, it's paid. So please subscribe to this channel and support and encourage me to create more content in this area. In this series, I'll be covering real exam questions for data analytics specialty exam. You will get these or similar to these questions in your exam. So we'll start with the second episode. In the beginning of the episode, I'll do a quick overview of the exam prep guidelines and process for answering the question. This I have done in episode 1 in detail, but I'll do a quick recap here and then we'll dive into the questions. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So let's go over exam overview first, a quick recap and all the relevant links I'll be putting in the video description later on for your quick reference. This is a professional / specialty level exam. This is the tier 3 of AWS exams, the toughest ones. And within that examination, AWS Data Analytics is a pretty tough exam. It's a 180 minutes examination. It's quite tiring. The cost for this examination is 30 USDs. And the format of the question, it's a multiple choice questions, multiple choice, single response or multiple response. There are 65 questions, so you'll roughly have just under 3 minutes to answer each of the questions. And the passing score is 750, which is 75%. The whole overall exam basically gets baselined at 1,000 points, and you need to get 750 points out of that. So that's a quick recap of exam overview. How do you prepare for this examination? You need to have solid foundation. I believe you would have done, AWS, one of the AWS associate exam before actually appearing for this one. So you will fairly have some idea, but even with that background, you need to build on it. I highly recommend Udemy course. I have mentioned about it in my previous video as well, and AWS documentation along with it for you to know, what each service does, and also a bit more nuances that each of the documentation pages cover. And club all this with my video series. I'll be covering hundreds of questions in my video series, analyzing every option available in that question. So you will not only learn about that particular question, but you will learn about more services as well. And before we jump into the actual questions, a quick recap of problem solving. So this is the exam tip. How are you going to solve the problems? So first, you need to read the questions and identify the requirements and mark the keywords. This will kind of focus yourself to the clear real requirements. Then, looking at those requirements, you need to eliminate the incorrect options, and you're down with two or three possible correct options, and then choose from those remaining options what's the best one that matches requirement. And the last step, this is also quite important. Without worrying about elimination now, look at your answer and see how does that tally to requirement, and does it still sound the best answer to you. So that's a quick recap of exam overview, preparation guidelines, and problem solving tips. Let's jump into the questions. Question number 6. So please read this question by pausing the video and mark your keywords. I believe you have read the question. I have marked keywords for you as well. And I will also summarize the problem description for each of these questions going forward. So what do we have what problem we have here on hand? So there's a data lake that has grown dramatically over a few years, and admin wants an easy way of synchronizing the writes between S3 and data catalog. And we have these 4 options to choose the answer from. For this particular question, I'll signpost you to this AWS documentation. And essentially, if you are synchronizing the access rights, the lake formation is the best way to do it. And lake formation is the best way to do it. If you go through this documentation, AWS Identity and Access Management is a service that you can grant access to your data in the AWS data catalog, either by AWS Glue methods or AWS lake formation grants. You can use grant reward command in order to achieve this particular outcome. So on this one, this is a textbook scenario for lake formation permissions. You have to, you don't have to worry about other options. Other options do not achieve these requirements. So final answer is option B. Rest everything is wrong, incorrect for this particular question. It's as I said, it's a textbook use case for AWS lake formation. Final answer B. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. Please read this question and mark your own keywords. I'll move on to my version of keywords. So what is the problem we are dealing with here? The problem is we have a Redshift cluster. It's unencrypted and needs to be encrypted using hardware security model. So this is not software encryption, it's a hardware security model and with customer managed keys. And we need to achieve guaranteed compliance. Now this particular question, again, I would like to point you to AWS documentation about migrating to an HMS encrypted cluster. The guideline over here is, you cannot really encrypt a cluster that already exists. So the key to solving this kind of scenario is you need to create a new encrypted cluster and move the data to this new cluster. And that's how you get the answer for this question. So if you look at the option B, C, and D, all are dealing with some different mechanism to answer this question, solve this problem. But if you look at answer A, that's exactly what we need. It's creating a new HSM encrypted Amazon Redshift cluster and then migrating data to the new cluster, exactly what we saw in the documentation. And that's the answer. B, C, D are wrong. You cannot do it the way they have said. You cannot just enable encryption on any of the existing cluster. You cannot modify Redshift cluster and suddenly make it encrypted. So enabling existing cluster by any means, which is what BCD does, is incorrect. The correct answer is you need to create a new cluster, encrypted one, and then move data into that encrypted cluster. So the final answer for this question is option A. Question number 7, final answer, option A. Let's move to the next question. Question number 8. Please read the question by pausing the video and mark your keywords. I hope you have read the question, marked your keywords. Now, what are we dealing with here? So problem description is there is a real-time data gathering happening and the storage needs to be, the requirement is single-digit millisecond data storage. Now, when you deal with single-digit millisecond data storage, what should come to your mind is it's DynamoDB. You need DynamoDB for that. And option B and D, you can see there's no DynamoDB, and you can strictly, reject these options. So what you're left with is option A and option C. Both of them have DynamoDB. So option C has data streams, data analytics, and DynamoDB, and option C has data firehose, use of Lambda function to aggregate the data. Now, in this case, you can see that option C, there is firehose is being used. And Firehose cannot store data directly to DynamoDB. You need something in between. So option C is ruled out on that basis. And you're left with option A, which is the correct answer here. Use of Kinesis data streams, data analytics, use of Lambda function, and then use Lambda function to write data into DynamoDB. So the final answer for question 8 is option A. Let's move on to the next question. I have put a link for an Amazon DynamoDB latency as well. You can see as per this article, DynamoDB provides single-digit millisecond performance for all workload sizes. Okay, let's go to question number 9. Please pause the video and read the question and mark your keywords. Identify the requirements. Okay, I hope you have read the question, mark your keywords. So what are we dealing with here? So we have Amazon Athena on-prem, and we need to make sure that without, we need to achieve the connections without passing through the internet. Now, this is again, this is a security question, and I would like to quickly take you to the AWS documentation around VPC endpoint, which is related to this particular question. How do you connect Athena? So to use Athena through VPC, you must connect it from an instance that is inside the VPC, or connect your private network to your VPC by using an Amazon VPN or AWS Direct Connect. For information about VPN, see VPN connections, blah, blah, blah. So if you go back to the options now, you can now look at, option A has direct connection, AWS Direct Connect connection. That's what we need. And we also need a JDBC VPC endpoint for Athena, and that's your option D. Others, you cannot really use it because as per documentation you saw, these option A and D, what gives you the correct answers. There is no further way of eliminating and then getting to the answer for this one. You need to, for some questions, you need to know your subject. You need to, refer the right AWS documentation, and then based on that, choose your answer. So question 9, final answer, option A and D. Let's move to the last question of this video. Question number 10. Please pause the video and mark your keywords, identify the requirements. All right, I am assuming you have read through the question. Now, what do we have here? We have a scenario where we need to match the patient's record, and there is no common unique identifier. Again, this one is a classic case for a feature that is available in AWS Glue, and I will take you to the documentation for this. So record matching with AWS lake formation, find matches. Find matches is the feature which enables you to identify duplicate or matching records in a data set, even when records do not have a common unique identifier. So, if you're looking for a surname and if there are variations, or address is a classic one where you're trying to match the address and address is not in the right format, then, find matches can go through similar records, try to, find the correlation between them and eliminate the duplicates. So this is once you know it, it's quite important. This question comes quite frequently as well. So you should remember the use case for find matches. And once you know that, the answer is very simple. Your answer is answer D, using find matches. I have put a link here as well, and I'll put it in the video description. All other options, they are not really used for this use case. So option A, B, and C, those are the wrong. Those are the wrong answers, and your correct answer is option D. So question number 10, option D. So that covers this video. and I'll be seeing you in the next episode, episode 3 soon. If you like the effort and you want to be posted on next set of videos I'll be creating for this series, please subscribe to this channel, Exam Tricks and Tips, and also like my videos. If you like the effort that I'm putting through, this is a very tough examination, and as I told you, the content, there's not enough content available on public domain for these. So please subscribe and appreciate my effort, and I'll be seeing you in my next episode of this video soon. Bye.